It's your daily dose of Donna. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. We did it. We got through the new year. We are here. We are having fun. I have a feeling that 2026 is going to be a good year. Okay? Because there is no way that it can be anywhere as much of a shit show as 2025. So let's all collectively put together some good energy for 2026, at least here on Daily Dose of Donna for all my dosers. Thank you so much for showing up live, daily, weekly, whenever you can, or watching the replay. Let me know in the comments right now if you are watching live or if you're a replay viewer. Did you have a nice New Year's? Are you guys happy? Are you living your best lives? Welcome to the show. Everyone, it's your daily dose of Donna. I hope everyone had a lovely New Year's Eve. I spent it very relaxed, actually. Well, we went to dinner, the four of us. We went to sushi, my husband, my kids, and I. And then we went over to a friend's house down the street to ring it in. But we were home by 11, and I was in bed before midnight. And honestly, to wake up on January 1st and not feel like hell is a blessing. So for everyone that woke up on January 1st and just, even if you did feel like crap, even if you did drink champagne or whatever until the wee early morning hours, at least you woke up, right? At least you're here. And that is the important thing. I spent yesterday. Thank you so much, Trent, for gifting a membership. For anyone that is here for the first time, I always like you guys to shout out and say, I'm here, I'm live. It's my first time ever. We're going to talk about so many interesting things today. I have like 8 stories on the agenda. The biggest one being, of course, is about Mary Cosby and this new 3-part documentary that came out last night on TLC about whether or not Mary Cosby runs a cult. That will be an interesting story. We've got an article about Rachel Zoe talking about her kind of assistant drama with Brad Goreski. Can't wait to talk about that. Tom Brady and Alix Earle, new couple. Oh my God. Plus, we have some sad news as we enter 2026. There's some, celebrity deaths already. It's just one of those things like we hardly got here and we're already reporting on celebrity deaths, but we're going to talk about all of it. If you are curious about starting 2026 off in like a really productive way and you want to create more content, maybe you want to start your own podcast, YouTube channel, whatever, even just TikTok, Instagram, anything like that, I am offering I used to coach that. That's what I did before Daily Dose of Donna, if you know my story. And so I'm going to give you guys a little special series of that on Patreon. Not for any additional money if you're already a Patreon member, but you got to be a Patreon member to sign up. And that's going to be coming out this month. And it's going to just be a series of videos and maybe a couple lives, and it'll be fun. For anyone that is interested in doing it for yourself, like creating content is where it's at, guys. 2026 is all about creating content, in my opinion, because number one, I can't stand the news. I can't stand watching journalists talk about things for the most part. I like citizen journalists, and we're all our own version of citizen journalists. I spend so much of my day just scouring other people's content for not only just news, but like tips, tricks, makeup, hair, recipes, how to get your dog to stop barking from morning till night. Yeah. YouTube, all of that stuff is very, very interesting. And it's been such a blessing for me in my life to start my own Daily Dose of Donna here. This is not my first podcast. This is my 4th podcast. And so I have a lot of experience on what it takes to create something successful versus what doesn't. What you shouldn't do. And also, actually, I have a 5th podcast after this. I'm doing 2 podcasts at the same time. So it'll be fun to talk about that. I have to fix something here because this is killing me. Hold on. I think that's a little better. I need to do a refresh of my art behind me. Okay, so let's get into all the stories. As you guys know, a little bit after I post this, I will have chapters below. So if you are new here and you're trying to find where it is, you'll be able to see chapters below. Here's my Patreon. The links are all below in the show notes. Thanks, Laura. So, okay, let's get into today's stories. We're going to start with the big one. Okay, the big one that I've been watching. I watched 2 of the episodes. I'm halfway through the 3rd one, but enough. I know enough now. And this is about Mary Cosby. Now, I find this all incredibly fascinating, and let me explain why. Mary Cosby, for those of you guys that don't know the story, Mary Cosby is a Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. For those of you that don't give a crap about Real Housewives, don't watch it, you're still going to be interested in this because if you're here on my show, or like on my channel, I think you're interested in scandals and true crime, and that includes cults and weird behavior with religious stuff versus like Scientology. I talk about all of that stuff here on Daily Dose of Donna. So this is actually really fascinating to me. When Mary Cosby joined Real Houses of Salt Lake City season 1, we learned about her being part of this church, being kind of like the head pastor at this church that she was running. But what we didn't know was, well, what we actually hadn't heard was firsthand reports of people that were previous members of the church really coming out and exposing what was happening behind the scenes. Now, for those of you guys that are part of any sort of church or religious institution, I think the important thing to think about here is that in every religion, you're going to find really, really good and you're going to find really, really shady. And that's not just religion, that's in every world, right? That's with every kind of like sect of the world. And so I have absolutely nothing negative about church to say about church or going to temple or going to any sort of religious practice. I'm a big believer of that. However, when it gets bad, when it gets shady, when there's crime involved or fraud or embezzling or cult like behavior, that's when you start to say, "Mm, not all churches or not all blanks are necessarily, you know, just there to connect with God." Uh, so this is a case where I tend to believe that the more people that are coming out and speaking out about something is usually a sign of this is not good. Mary Cosby joined Real Houses of Salt Lake City back in 2020. That is when we first found Mary Cosby on the scene. And when we learned about her at first, we really didn't know much about kind of like who she was. We really just knew that she was this kind of quirky church goer, pastor. And she honestly, the first season, I have to say, she did not come off very likable. I thought she was odd. It was interesting to watch her, but I found her to be kind of a little bit of an odd character. Okay. I'm going to pull up Mary Cosby's Instagram just so you guys get an idea of who she is, what she looks like, in case you've never watched any of these shows. Um, Here she is. She calls herself an entrepreneur, an event specialist, philanthropist, spiritual leader, faith, fragrance, fashion. Um, and obviously, in the last few years, her content is very just Real Housewives based. But this is just to get an idea. Here's the problem. I think Mary is a great housewife. She's a phenomenal housewife. She's so fun to watch. She actually makes me laugh, all of that. But the first season of her show, we start to find out some weird stuff, right? We start to find out that she's married to a man who was her grandfather. Okay. Record scratch, right? Record scratch. She was married to a man, is married to a man who was married to her grandmother. So not her grandfather by blood, but her step grandfather. Now, o- obviously it's better than being married to your grandfather by blood, but what in the actual F is that all about? I have never in my life would ever think that that was a natural, normal, healthy thing that happens. But in Mary's life, the story that they had explained to the show, to the audience, that it was somewhat, she even said the words arranged marriage. So basically, her grandmother, who goes by the name of Mama, who is no longer with us, Mama, married this man, Robert Cosby. I'm trying to think. Let me see. Robert Cosby in 1998. So Mama Cosby, her name was Rosemary, who was the founder of the Faith Temple Pentecostal Church. She married Robert Cosby in 1998. I'm sorry, Mary married in 1998. Rosemary Mama Cosby was married for, 10 or whatever years before that. Sorry. He was 20 years younger than Mama Cosby. So he was a younger man that came in. And we had no idea watching the show anything about this Robert Cosby. We didn't know like what the deal was. Is he just this nice older man that fell in love with Mary after his wife died? We don't know. But this documentary exposes a lot of people's inside feelings about who this Robert was. So Mama, I guess, ran this really lovely church. And without going into detail about Mama's life, Mama was running a legitimate church. She brings Robert Cosby in, and Robert Cosby ended up kind of creating a very unhealthy atmosphere, according to a lot of these people, right? He was abusive. He was aggressive. He was tough. He was not like a kind, loving man. And this is just, from specific people that are speaking out, former members of the church. This is, I should just be very, very clear again. This is a Pentecostal church, which I was not raised in the church world. So like, I don't know a lot about, what kind of churches all of these are and whatever, but Pentecostal for the most part, and tell me if I'm wrong here, you guys, but Pentecostal is when God speaks kind of like through your body. So it's your typical, when you see those movies, or those church services where people are, passing out or hand to head, and you're getting like exposed to God in your body, shaking, screaming, very, very over the top energy about God. This is the kind of church it is. Okay. Every church kind of has its own denomination. Now, Robert Cosby, Mama Cosby dies. And all of a sudden, Robert Cosby, the way that this is explained is that he starts connecting to Mary in a very kind of, the way that it's explained is that she just happened to be there for him. She was very sympathetic because her grandmother died, and they kind of like, connected over the loss. However, it comes out later that apparently, according to Robert, Mama Cosby, his former wife, Mary's grandma, wanted him to marry one of her girls, quote unquote, to continue to take care of him. Well, I'm sorry. I think that's crazy to me. I can't. Okay, according to Laura, not all Pentecostal churches are like that. Assembly of God isn't like that. Okay. Never, ever had heard of that. But thank you for sharing. So Mary describes it on the show. This was an arranged marriage because my grandmother wanted to keep the church and the assets in the family. And all of a sudden she marries her grandfather, her former grandfather, and became like the first lady of the church. But even at this time, Mary wasn't even like a very active member in the church. I forget exactly what they called her at the time, but she had slipped away from the church for bad behavior, et cetera, like not finding God being part of her. So already it was kind of black sheep vibes. Now, during seasons 1 and 2 of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, there was a leaked audio of Mary going off on her congregants, calling them stingy and poor. Okay. This audio, let me see if I can find it really fast. gosh, I have to let out my dog. Hold on one second. This audio is pretty uh it's pretty bad, okay? Here's a TikTok or a Instagram sharing it. Hold on. Let me get it on for you guys. And then while it's playing, I'm going to let out my dog. Here we go.
Coming in here draining me. I ain't preaching on y'all sin. I'm doing everything else. Y'all ain't helping. Halfway pay your tithes. I got 14 birthday cards. Don't stingy self. You're poor people. I don't want no poor people around me. You're poor self. And if you ain't poor, you stingy, so you still poor. God said you was poor. Said you rich. What's that scripture, Norman? Oh Lord. Lord, you gave it to me over and over.
So she's going off on her congregants for being stingy and poor. Not something you necessarily want to hear from your pastor. Okay. This is like the opposite of where you go to church for, is to get berated for not being, for not being rich, for not being beautiful, for all these things. So that audio starts to leak around season 1 and 2. And then this man, Cameron Williams, came onto the show and speaks to Meredith. And I believe this is season 2. And Cameron Williams is a former congregant who comes on the show to explain shady situations. However, one thing that we find out in last night's documentary is that, and this we didn't know about before, as far as I know, is that this Cameron Williams, who came out to talk about how it was a shady operation and cult-like, this church, actually Mary's cousin is interviewed in this documentary and claims that Mary had an affair with this Cameron Williams, who, by the way, is now not alive. Okay, this Cameron Williams has since died. But Mary Cosby's cousin in the documentary, and there's a bunch of people interviewed in this documentary. We have her sister, we have her cousin, we have cousin's wife, and we have multiple different people in the show that are in the documentary that are part of Mary's former life, or used to be part of Mary's life. So Mary Cosby's cousin claims that Mary had an affair with this Cameron Williams guy. And it's a pretty crazy story, because what they're saying is that even though she was married to her husband, Robert Cosby, in it says that Cameron had said to Mary's Cosby, Dan, at some point when he was still alive, that he was asked to go to Mary's house. Mary asked him to put on some music. And after they sat down together, okay, I'm just going to tell you word for word what he said. After they sat down together, Cameron told Mary's cousin that Mary grabbed his hand and started rubbing her. And then his hand was grabbed and put on, according to the cousin, her vagina. Sorry, in her vagina. Okay. So Cameron then says after that, it turned into sex. And this was on a Saturday, apparently. And there's even a clip of an apparent call between Dan Cosby and Cameron that's played in the documentary, where Cameron says, we had the affair and all that, but like that was me being victimized. It had to take therapy for me to get out of that. But when he was having the affair with Mary, and this is all alleged, when he was having the affair with Mary Cosby, he felt like that was God. She was God to him, right? So he literally said that at first the affair made him feel like God is blessing me, because this is the kind of behavior that you get into when you're led by a cult member. And I'm just saying allegedly, all this is alleged based on the documentary, that he was giving her energy. She was giving him an energy of like, I am God. God speaks through me as I am a pastor. and God is blessing you with like having to sleep with me. This is all according to this man, Cameron Williams. Now, it continued. Mary took him on private jets, took him on trips, buying him very expensive thousands of dollars of shoes. And this Cameron guy was felt 100% manipulated. Now, no, not now because he has passed, but afterwards, in hindsight, he was like, I was manipulated. Dan Cosby, the man that's interviewed in the documentary, says that Cameron actually wanted his story out if anything were to happen to him, and he was fearing for his life. Cameron said during this phone call recording, my goal is to protect my family. I'm trying to make sure I don't go down on her ship. That's why I was calling, because I'm like, okay, that's something I won't allow because I don't want to be associated with Mary anymore. And this is kind of crazy, but in the documentary, Dan Cosby said that this guy, Cameron, who's friends with Lisa Barlow, who's also on Real Housewives, told him that he helped orchestrate Mary's casting on the show to expose Mary. Okay. So if you're trying to kind of follow along, this Cameron guy comes on the show, onto Real Housewives, and says, and this is, by the way, just for anyone that's new in here right now and doesn't know what we're talking about the cult of the Real Housewife on TLC. It's a 3-episode series. It all aired last night, so you guys can catch up on it. It's on Hulu. It's on YouTube TV. It's like wherever you watch your TLC. So according to this guy, Mary was cast on the show to be exposed in this cult. And it does come out in the first reunion. In the first reunion, Andy Cohen asks Mary about the cult. Let me see if I have that clip. Let me see really fast if I see it. Well, okay. On October 31st, 2021, this article came out on page 6. And I think we're kind of like all forgetting this. I kind of forgot all of this. I don't know if you did too. But this is about, look at this article that came out in 2021. Oh my God, this is such an old article. Lisa Barlow says, my friend experienced real trauma from Mary Cosby's church. It said the dark cult allegations against Mary Cosby are finally coming to light on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. In that episode, Lisa Barlow tells Meredith Marks that her late friend and Utah community leader, Cameron Williams, experienced real trauma during his stint as a preacher at Mary Cosby's church. She said, I believe he's experienced real trauma. Cameron is my friend. There's some personal things that he told me, but I'm not comfortable talking about it tonight. The bottom line is I don't want to speculate. I don't want to dive into this, especially tonight. Meredith Marks told Barlow that she had an unsettling conversation with Williams earlier in the night. So this all happened on not all those details, the sexual details I just talked about, but that he had gone through really harmful things under Mary's watch, basically. He said on the show, I hope for healing for everyone. I truly do, which he said of those who attended and still attend the church. When Meredith Marks told Cameron Williams that she really loves Mary and she had a feel-good experience at the church, he said, well, Mary and I were extremely close at one point. Just be careful. He added, I get why you felt what you felt because that was your first time here. Stick around and you'll find out. And this is Cameron Williams, who used to be a preacher at Mary Cosby's church, Truth, Faith, or whatever it's called. And then Faith, I can't remember. Let me get the name of it. I don't want to say the wrong. Faith Temple Pentecostal Church. And of course, has since died. Okay. So it had come up on the show and then quickly kind of just went away. It just kind of went away. And Mary left, I believe, when did Mary leave? Mary left Real Housewives for a bit and then came back. She left after season 2, skipping the reunion. She didn't return to season 3 because of the intense drama and accusations about her church being a cult. But season 5, she came back. And that's when we got her back last season and this season, and we're loving her. But it's almost like we all forgot about these crazy accusations. So it's pretty sad to hear. So here are some other accusations, some of the key allegations. One of them is that members were allegedly pressured to donate huge sums to provide for the church. For example, one member took out a $300,000 second mortgage for the church. They had to provide free labor at the Cosby's home. They had to work in church-owned businesses for little or no pay. There were frequent emergency offerings that were demanded, sometimes barricading doors to collect these people. There was also spiritual and emotional manipulation. So Mary encouraged many of the people to treat her like she was God. I am God. God is coming through me. And she instilled, according to these people that were interviewed, she instilled this fear of eternal damnation for leaving. And there were services that were monitored. All the services were monitored via camera. Like they all had camera on all the services so they could keep an eye on, I guess, everything. And it also, like I said, Robert Sr. is accused of abusive behavior towards the members. And allegedly, I mean, really, the church itself just completely changed. It was a certain kind of church under Mama. And then now that Mary and her husband took it over, it completely changed. It turned into like a very kind of negative, angry, fighting, bad energy place. So in this docuseries, you're going to see footage, you're going to see recordings, you're going to hear audio, and you're going to obviously see all these interviews with people that were part of her life. Mary, meanwhile, has consistently denied these allegations from day one, right? Mary is saying, I had nothing to do with that. This is all sad. She called it sad, horrible, not true. Before, when she talked about that leaked audio, she said it was out of context. She says, there's no way I would lead a cult and be on national TV. Interesting. And of course, she and Robert do not participate in the series whatsoever. So right now, as we just have these allegations from these people. And then we have a Real Housewife that is incredibly popular in the Bravo sphere. So the question is, what happens now? What happens in the Bravo world when you have this woman that is being crazy accused of running a cult, fraud, embezzlement, all these things? And then you also have this other side of her, which the audience obsesses over, loves, including myself, by the way. I love her on the show. But clearly there's something going on. And I think everyone can kind of figure that out for themselves, that there's something shady happening between Mary Cosby and this church. And unfortunately, we don't really know if there's ever going to be justice to any of these people that are, going through it. But here is a picture that TLC released. And it's of, just so you can kind of get an idea, it's of Mary Cosby and her husband, also with her grandma when her grandma was alive, and the same husband. It's kind of wild to see. Okay. She literally, this part is more than I can even handle, right? Now, yes, Mimi is also bringing this part up, that the church owns businesses and doesn't pay taxes, right? I feel like a lot of this is really shady when you have church and money together. Because if anyone knows anything about the way that the tax system works, churches are they're I forget the word when you don't have to pay taxes. You guys will come up with it for me. You don't have to pay taxes when you're part of running a church. And exempt is the word. They're exempt from paying taxes. And that's why there's all this drama also around the Kardashians, by the way, in a church that they apparently own. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but that's a whole other story that I've gone down a deep dive about. How the Kardashians are owners in a church also. So when you look at a pastor from a church who is surrounded in wealth, Mary Cosby is an absolute wealthy woman. That is an indisputable fact. She is covered in wealth. She has closets and closets and closets filled with the most expensive clothes. We've seen that now in her house. She lives in this mansion. She's got all the nice things. Plus, now she's a reality star making all that money from being on Bravo. This is 100% not your typical pastor behavior unless you are made from something else. So this is why it's all so shady. And I think at some point, there's going to be something that comes out here because it doesn't, or there's going to be like a recourse for this. The fact that they did this TLC documentary, it feels like opening it up to a huger audience. Like I said, only just kind of like inner Bravo people that are obsessed with Bravo knew about it, but putting it on TLC now, how do you not continue and like go down the path? So what is the future for Faith Temple? I mean, in 1990s, there were 500 members each week. And now in season 6, we went back to the church just a couple episodes ago to document the reopening of Mary's church. The reason why it was closed, she said, was there was renovations. We got new pews and we got new carpet, we got new paint, and we got all this new stuff. But in reality, what was the closing for? Now, Mary Cosby said, my whole point is to help somebody. If I could say one thing that would maybe change your whole way of thinking and put you on a right path, I'll do it. And, you know, there's this side of her that's like, I'm just here to help. I just want to help people. And all of them went to the church. All of these women that are on her show were at the church crying, praising, dancing, all of that. And it's kind of crazy to know that they were all just part of it this season. This is not like an old story. This is a current living and breathing church right now. Now, a former member of Faith Temple, his name is Bishop Galvin, created a place called Soul Restoration as a home for ex-members of the church. He says, I will never be under Faith Temple again, and I pray for people that are. They said another former member who feels like a victim of Mary says, individuals that are still caught in those walls are not seeing the true signs. When things seem off, step back and take a look. You don't have to live under dictatorships and mind manipulations. You don't have to live under spiritual abuse and religious abuse. So that is where we are with Faith Temple and Mary Cosby. And I highly recommend that you watch it, because it opens you up. This is one of probably hundreds going on in the country. Cults, when you think of the word cult is usually like you connect it with like Scientology, NXIVM, like these really big, obvious, known ones that have been established, basically, even though Scientology would never establish itself as a cult, but we all know it is. I think there's so many examples of being in cults that so many people are in currently right now that you just don't know that you're in it when you're in it. I think there's cults online. I think there's social media cults, like influencer cults. I think there's religious cults. I think there's political cults. I think that there's social justice movement type cults. I think that there's a lot of that out there. And so when you're in it, usually you can't see that you're in one. So I'm like, am I in one? But then when you wake up to it and you walk out of it, that's when you realize. Now, what is like a true meaning, definition of a cult? What makes it a cult and not just a movement or a passion or something like that? A cult is a group of people that have beliefs or practices that there's like control over the people. And usually if you're in a cult, you kind of can't leave without getting incredibly harmed in some capacity. It's interesting because obviously you can see that in a lot of different ways, but you have to have unquestioning loyalty. You have to be like fully in with them, not question a damn thing. And that's why I think a lot of people feel like people are in cults when you're talking about maybe a religion or a political side or, whatever. But I think the most important thing we can do as human beings is question and be critical, have a critical mind over anything that we're doing and anything we're in. And unfortunately, sometimes that's a hindsight thing. So, who here is in a cult? That's what I want to know. It's so obvious Mary is running a cult, Cat's Meow says. I agree. I agree. Um, and I didn't I didn't know it as much until watching this. Usually, so many people don't have something bad to say about something unless there's some element of the truth. Or they were just trying to, attack her. But I don't believe that that's the case because I believe they were speaking out before she even became a big reality star. So there you go. Josh is in the Daily Dose of Donna cult. This is a cult that I would love for everyone to join. If you're in the Daily Dose of Donna cult, here are my rules. You have to be funny. You have to understand sarcasm. And yeah, I guess you just have to be kind in the comments. Can we do that? So let's talk about some other things. What do you think about that story? I just find it really, really fascinating. And I'm interested to see what Andy Cohen does with this. Andy Cohen is obviously the head of Bravo. He's not. He's the executive producer of Real Housewives, but he has a very, very big place at Bravo. He's kind of the mouthpiece, the face of Bravo. And the question is, what do you do with claims like this? Do you just continue as normal because they're not they're just allegations? I think you do. Maybe this just makes TV even a little bit better, I don't know. This is where you question morals versus values versus do you think it's right if Bravo continues to highlight and air a cult leader on their shows? I don't know. I don't know. Yes, Andy is probably too hungover to watch the documentary. If anyone watched him on December 31st with Anderson Cooper, the guy was so drunk. It was like, I am all about them drinking and having fun, but Andy Cohen was so drunk. He looked ridiculous. I'm sorry. I think he looks like, I don't mind Andy Cohen having some drinks. I think it's fun. I love Anderson when he gets a little giggly, whatever. But Andy was on another level. And I wasn't even listening to what he was saying because I was at my friend's house and it was just kind of on in the background. But I just saw his hand movements and his body and just the way he was talking. And I just can't believe like that. There's like got to be a level. And it was so weird because they were also next to BJ Novak by midnight when Andy was like losing his mind and just like going on rants about the mayor. Sorry, a little fly. Going on rants about the mayor. Like he was just like losing it. BJ Novak was there from The Office. I was like, why is he there? It was so weird. Anderson Cooper was great. The parts that I saw, he had a great speech about about grief during New Year's. Oh, it like moved me almost to tears. I thought it was so, so beautiful. I loved that part. But all of that, most of it I just watched in clips the next day because I was like I said, I was at a friend's house. We were just all chatting. It was just kind of on the background. I just saw Andy in his blue jacket, just like flailing in the wind. He also looked like he had a lot of makeup on. Okay. Like almost too much for Andy. Just thinking out loud. Let's get into our next story. And while I pull up that next story, I want to remind you guys that this week's episode is brought to you by hers because as we're coming into the next year in 2026, there is a huge amount of people that want to just get healthy and want to start losing weight and want to start feeling good, and understandably, and sometimes that's just hard. And the more I am hearing about this, the more I am open to this as a total reasonable, actual way for everyone to incorporate a GLP-1 into their body, whether it's a microdose or a bigger dose. But I actually have seen so much positive feedback about people that are on microdosing GLP-1s. So just remember that hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to weight loss treatment plans for every budget. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you. Weight loss by hers is realistic, not restrictive. Hers provides access to affordable weight loss plans built around oral medication kits and GLP-1 injectable options, with oral medication kits starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid up front in full. Hers puts your health and goals first, with real medical providers making sure you have what you need to get results, all from the comfort of your couch. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through hers. Whether you want to lose weight, grow thicker, fuller hair, or find relief for anxiety, hers has you covered. Visit forhers.com/daily dose to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/daily dose. Forhers.com/daily dose. Weight loss by hers is not available everywhere. Compounded drug products are not approved or evaluated for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. There is a prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased. So let's get into our next story. This is actually pretty sad. And it's sadly Tommy Lee Jones' daughter, Victoria Jones, has been found dead in a San Francisco beautiful hotel in the early hours of New Year's Day. I was kind of surprised to see this, but the more I'm learning about Victoria Jones, sadly, she definitely had a little bit of a troubled past. She died at the age of 34 in this beautiful hotel. Apparently, a guest found her and she was unresponsive. And maybe they thought that she was just drunkenly passed out, but clearly she wasn't waking up. They called 911. And sure enough, at 3:14 a.m. local time, the police came to the San Francisco hotel and found her on the ground of the 14th floor. Staffers performed CPR, called for an ambulance. Paramedics then pronounced her dead at the scene. So according to the outlet that I'm reading here, there was no signs of foul play and no drug paraphernalia. But it was also no indication that her death was, a choice and a suicide. So most likely what people are assuming is that this is drug related. And the reason why is because she's actually had substance abuse issues in the past. And in 2025, she's been arrested 2 times already in Napa Valley. So the first one was for obstructing a peace officer using or being under the influence of a controlled substance and possession of a narcotic controlled substance. And then again in June, that was in April, and in June for domestic battery and domestic violence involving elder abuse. I don't know the details about that. A San Francisco police officer said that she was definitely struggling with substance abuse and suspected that her drug was fentanyl related. So it's never good to hear stories like that. Especially she was an actress when she was younger. Her dad is Tommy Lee Jones. Like, that is just so sad. But unfortunately, this is drugs, that's why you don't even touch it, because all of them are like spiked with all this fentanyl, et cetera. And so I just stay far, far away from any of that. And I always did. I'm too scared. I would be too scared. Even if I was someone that liked to dabble in drugs like that, I would be too scared. But this is my biggest fear with my kids. And like with kids growing up is just I want to scare them so much that they never even want to touch it, because to think that, you could maybe do it all the time or just do it once. All it takes is that one moment, and there you go. Let's move on to a happier story. How about this? Some New Year's Eve news, some couple news. Well, the first one is, look who is maybe hanging out together. I'm curious what you guys think about Kyle and Mauricio. Yep, Kyle Richards and Mauricio have been spotted. They've spent all of Christmas week together in Aspen together with their family. They were definitely showing up in videos, in TikToks with the daughters were posting. They were hanging out together, watching movies. They were shopping together. They were doing their thing. But apparently, They were both at Kate Hudson's New Year's party in Aspen. And according to this source, and who knows if this source is telling the truth, that they were enjoying one another's company. They had their arms around each other and were very touchy and warm with one another all night. Now, I would like to say, these are obviously old pictures. I would like to say that it's possible that this is true, that they were friendly and hanging out. There was a ton of other people there. Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell, Kim Kardashian, Bella Hadid, Brooks Nader and her sisters, Elon Musk, Rachel Zoe. So many people were there. My gut feeling is that this is probably not true. My gut feeling is that they were hanging out together and they're very friendly. And one person said to them, you know, or one person said, like, they seemed really happy and into each other. I can't in my brain imagine Mauricio and Kyle getting back together. Now, I could be wrong, but my brain does not see that, at least in the foreseeable future, maybe in a long time, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Now, another couple that got together, and this I think is kind of fascinating, is did you guys expect this one? Tom Brady and Alix Earle. I was shocked by this, but seriously, what a upgrade from Braxton. Now, I don't watch sports, so I mean, I do watch some sports. I did watch a couple Bears games over this break. But what an upgrade from Braxton. Now all of a sudden she's not with just, any NFL player. She's with the GOAT. She's with Tom Brady. And the videos are showing that they were all dancing and they were having fun. And, Daily Mail says they were getting handsy. And clearly their hands are kind of all over each other. It says that they were spotted looking cozy in St. Bart's on New Year's Eve. So he has not found love since his breakup with Giselle. She just broke up with Braxton, and they were all there at a New Year's yacht party on the Caribbean island. And in this video by TMZ, they're dancing before Alix Earle leans to whisper something in his ear while caressing his back. Another clip shows her glancing over her shoulder and looking him up and down as they get their groove on at the yacht party. And then a third captures Brady appearing to place his hand around her lower waist. Let me tell you something. Good for him. Good for her. This is a hot couple. Okay? This is a hot couple to me. Alix Earle is so smoking hot. Tom Brady, he could gain some of his Ozempic weight back. I think he has Ozempic face. I don't know what's going on, but he's like way too skinny. She probably was having drinks. She was out with her girlfriends. She went out with a bunch of girls. She was out with Kaylee Teller, who we actually showed pictures of last week when she got her wedding dress back. And she was with Nina Dobrev, like different girls. They were just having a girls' night. I was thinking, like, where are the husbands? But they were just having a lot of fun and enjoying themselves. And it sounds like they just, met up. And next thing you know, it was everything. I mean, that was the date. So since, the posts have come out, they aren't commenting directly on the videos, but they're not doing anything to play them down. Tom Brady shared a quote to his Instagram story saying, "People are not beautiful for how they look or speak. They're beautiful for how they love, care, and treat others." And Alix Earle just did a video, a Get Ready With Me, where she says, "I foresee good vibes ahead." So this was Tom Brady. These were Tom Brady's stories after he allegedly was hooking up. And that's it. They have a huge age gap. Who knows if this is a real thing, but good for them. Let them live. I say, let them live. That is a hot couple. Do you guys not agree? I think it is. All right. Is there any other couple news? Oh, the worst couple in the world is Denise Richards and her ex, Aaron Pfeiffer. And this is a crazy story. This story just gets worse and worse and worse. So as you guys know, Denise Richards and Aaron Pfeiffer their names were both on the lease of their Calabasas home where they had to pay, I think, $12,000 a month or $8,000 a month, something insane. He moved out. He was living there with his parents, his elderly parents. This is what he always says, right? They just got evicted. The landlord, John Karen, just evicted them from this $3.3 million house because he's owed $84,000 in back rent. And now Aaron Pfeiffer is saying that they're going to have to start the new year on the streets. And Aaron Pfeiffer's mother has now launched a GoFundMe for Aaron. Okay? Launched a GoFundMe for Aaron. This is fascinating to me. Saying, please help my son Aaron, a grandmother's cry for justice. So who here is going to be donating to Aaron Pfeiffer after he abuses his wife? And I'm not saying that like everything was gravy on all ends, but like this is the guy that is going to get. So far, just so you know, he has gotten 8 donations, $1,313 out of $110,000. And this has been up for at least 28 days. 28 days. Patricia says, I am a mother and a grandmother begging the public for help. My son, Aaron Pfeiffer, has been destroyed by false allegations, Hollywood power, and a system determined to silence him. But the deepest wound is the loss of his daughter, my granddaughter, Eloise. She was our light. So just to remind you guys, Eloise was Denise's adopted daughter, who she adopted when she was very young, before Aaron came in the picture. And Eloise suffers from, let me get the exact, Eloise Richards disability. She suffers from a disability called, she was born with chromosome 8 and monosomy 8p, a rare chromosomal disorder in which part of the 8th chromosome is deleted. Okay. So she has some challenges. She's, I think, nonverbal. She struggles with some developmental delays, etc. Denise Richards has been the person that is taking care of this daughter for her whole life. And yes, understandably, that he married Denise and, was in that relationship for a little bit, for a few years. But this is not his daughter, unless he adopted her. And I don't really understand that. But this is wild. It says, it continues. This is, remember, from Aaron Pfeiffer's mother. She was our light. This is about Eloise. She adored her daddy. And overnight, she was taken from him and from us, without truth, without justice, without mercy. When my daughter-in-law needed help, this is about Denise, I was brought in to hold a collapsing home together. 36 dogs, 5 cats, endless responsibilities, all hidden from the landlord. I spent my small pension on vet bills, food, and care because no one else would. My son Brett and I were put in impossible, unlawful situations to cover for fraud we never created. Whoa. She's saying that when she was brought into the house, she was given 36 dogs to take care of, this and this and that, all of these horrible things that Denise put her in that the landlord didn't even know about, and she came in to take care of them. Welcome, Albert. Finally caught alive. Usually listen to the Apple podcast. Welcome. So that is a crazy allegation, but I also would not put it past Denise Richards. Just putting it out there. Then it continues. And through it all, I cared for Eloise for weeks, loving her, protecting her, giving her stability while my daughter-in-law traveled. I even cared for her older daughter's cats because they wouldn't bother. Now my son, the man who carried this entire household, has been cut off, slandered, starved, wrongfully arrested, and left with nothing. No income, no home, no ability to fight back, and no access to the daughter who needs him. We are facing eviction. Our utilities are being shut off. My pension is gone. We are out of options. Please, if you have ever loved a child or a grandchild, child. Help my son fight for the truth and for Eloise. Your support may be the only thing that saves him. With a breaking heart, Patricia Pfeiffers. Wow. What do you think about that? Listen, I think there can be a few truths, right? I think there can be a few truths. Here is a picture, allegedly, of that Aaron Pfeiffer's brother released of his mom taking care of all of the dogs in Denise Richards' house. Here she is putting together a shite ton of dog food. I don't understand this idea of 36 dogs. Hold on. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I have 3 dogs. One of them is at boot camp, and life is so hectic. I just can't imagine what that is. But this is apparently Aaron and his brother years ago. I don't know why this picture is part of this. But as you guys know, Aaron had a business, Quantum 360 Club. It closed. He can't find work, he's saying. And apparently because they're Canadian citizens, they also don't get any government aid. He can't even sell the motorcycle that he has because Denise Richards has the title on it. He can't do anything. And then it says, it's unclear why Aaron's brother Brett has also not found employment. Yeah, why? Meanwhile, he's just trying to make money off Denise Richards' GoFundMe. I'm sorry, not GoFundMe, OnlyFans, which is just ridiculous. I'm sorry. I really struggle with men like Aaron Pfeiffer's. I understand if you go through a situation where you lose your wife, you lose income because your wife had a lot of income. You're struggling. You maybe can't afford certain things. I get it. I feel for you for that. But he was abusive, allegedly, right? He was controlling, allegedly. And he's sitting at home doing nothing to get work. I'm sorry. Everyone is responsible for themselves in this life. Unless you are severely disabled or severely ill, everyone can find a way, I believe. Now, is it easy? No. But there's usually one step leading between you and making money. If it's not illness or being disabled or something horrendous like that, it's usually lack of trying because there isn't enough things out there become an Uber driver, go work at Starbucks, Target, anywhere. There are always places that you can work. It's about your ego and it's about your principles. And you're like, no, I was married to Denise Richards and I had so much money at one point and I was a reality star and I was this and a business owner. And I'm too good to work at any of these restaurants. That's one thing that I will always look at in a positive way when I think about someone like a John Gosselin, who, trust me, we all have our stories about those Goslins. But whenever I think about John Gosselin, the only thing I can think about is this is a guy that was thrust into the reality TV spotlight on that 8 Kids, whatever, the John and Kate plus 8. Clearly, that was his wife's choice. It was very much his wife's driven choice. And he was portrayed as this loser, lame ass husband. And then they eventually got divorced and he tried his hardest to be some sort of reality star and date all these hotties for a second. It worked for 2 seconds. And then he tried being a DJ and that worked for 2 seconds. But the guy has continued to work. He works pretty lame jobs maybe, but he always is working. And not all of them are, they're not fancy. But a man's place, if you're a father, which he isn't to Eloise, he's a stepfather, if anything, is to provide, work. I'm going to be like Kim Kardashian, get off your ass and work. That's how I feel. He's a king grifter, that Aaron Pfeiffer. All right, let's go to our next story. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Let's go to our next story. Rachel Zoe has opened up about Brad Goreski, and I find this fascinating because Rachel Zoe is obviously the new Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and a lot of you guys were like me. You grew up watching her show on TV, and she had the Zoe Report. I can't remember if that's what it was called, but it was such a good show. And And now she comes out on People magazine and she's talking about why she doesn't do any more celebrity styling, which I actually was surprised about. I didn't know that. She has an empire. She has so many fashion lines and business lines and so many things under her, but she does not style celebrities anymore. And she stopped 12 years ago. And part of it was because she really wanted to just focus on her kids and her life and her business because the hours are so outrageous. But really, it's also because she says, I just couldn't trust assistants. Now, those of you guys remember, she used to have Brad Goreski as her assistant on the Zoe Report. That was, to me, Rachel Zoe and Brad Goreski. That was like the best part of that show was Brad Goreski and Rachel Zoe being friends on the show. Assistants, whatever. And I just thought they were so cute and they were so fun together. And obviously, there was a massive falling out. Now, she's talked about it through the years. In fact, this is her talking about it on Watch What Happens Live in 2021. In 2021, she was asked by Andy Cohen about that. And this is what she said. Completely betrayed, for lack of a better term, in various ways by enough assistants and not being able to trust them with my clients and stuff to represent what I do and how I am with my clients. It just wasn't worth it anymore. So she basically said that she couldn't be with multiple clients at once because the hours are all crazy and everything. So she really needed to bring in assistants, and Brad Goreski was one of her assistants. Now, at the time, they said that they parted ways amicably, but in 2011, she claimed that after Goreski left her brand, he started to pursue her clients. She said that he began attending events and doing all the things he had no interest in within a week of leaving her company. And after she claimed he had told her he wanted to put a pause on his styling career and spend more time with his boyfriend and dog. His boyfriend is Gary Janetti, who I love them online. They're very funny together. Now, obviously, it was a little bit of a mix between both, but it's actually just so sad, I think, that they're not friends because I love Brad Goreski and I love Rachel Zoe. And it would be interesting to see that kind of come together. But how many of us have been in situations like that where you bring someone on to work under you and before you know it, you realize like they're trying to get those clients from under you? It's happened to me. It's happened to so many people that I know. I think this is pretty much a very common thing. Now, she also had another assistant, Taylor, who was on season 1. I think only season 1, maybe season 1 and 2 of Rachel Zoe's project. And she also had a bad falling out with her for a lot of the same reasons. There was a lot of trust. Now, I went to high school with Taylor. So that was always so crazy for me. She was 1 year younger than me to watch that. Now, I would be interested to see Brad and Rachel get back together as friends on, the show on Real Housewives. But I don't know if it's going to happen because I just think these wounds are probably really deep. Now, I did spend the weekend, not the weekend, New Year's Eve of New Year's Eve at a party where I was hanging out with a celebrity makeup artist who's very, very close with Brad Goreski. So now I'm like, maybe I can find out what she thinks about all of that. Okay. Now we're going to talk about what I spent my New Year's Day doing other than decluttering my house, because that's my new thing. And you guys like to get my opinions on TV shows, on podcasts, on books. I always turn you on to what you need to be watching, right? I'm telling you this right now. Heated Rivalry on HBO Max. And yes, I am probably a few days behind because I think that the last episode aired right before Christmas. So I think a lot of people were obsessed with it like a week ago. But truly, truly, when I tell you this, Heated Rivalry is a show that I was very uncomfortable watching for the first time. The first episode, I turn it on, and within 10 to 20 minutes, you are seeing some serious sexual activity between two men. Okay. This is a thing that I was not comfortable with. I have to be honest. At first, I was I don't even know if it's because it was two men. I think it's possible just because of the nature of it. It was there, okay? It was there. You don't see appendages. You see butt. You don't see that. But it's okay. If you can get over that, and I say this as someone that I love gay men. I have absolutely no issue with homosexuality whatsoever. It was still hard for me to get over. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, okay? If you can get past that, you will fall so fucking in love with the show that you won't even understand how to process it. Even Enrique says, it is a lot and I'm a gay person. Oh yeah, it's wild. I can't explain to you the chokehold the show has on me. It's 6 episodes. And I truly, that's the only group of people Donna likes is gay men. That's so true. So true. I truly cannot explain to you what this show did to me and to my heart. It's based on a book series called Game Changers, which was I don't think it was a young adult series. I think it was an adult series about 2 rival hockey players who happen to be so freaking hot. Okay? The way that they found these unknown actors is a story within itself. These 2 actors play these 2 rival hockey players. Both are American, by the way, in real life. I think American, both of them. And one of them, Connor Stories, plays this guy, Ilya Rozanov, who is Russian. He learned Russian, I found out, in 1 week to perform this character. His Russian accent is insanely good, apparently, according to everyone that I've heard that knows Russian well. They're in shock that he didn't know Russian. So he has this accent. He has a jaw from the gods, okay? He is so goddamn hot that I don't know how to function when I watch him. He's also kind of the bad boy, and I love a bad boy. They are rival top players in their hockey teams. One plays for Boston, one plays for Montreal. And they're set up as the rivals. So think about football, you've got your top 2 quarterbacks from just say, I don't know, the Packers and the Bears or whatever. I'm telling you, at the end of episode 1, I was like, okay. By the end of episode 3, I was bawling. Episode 5 took me to a new dimension of emotion. And episode 6, the final, was made me want to watch the entire thing again right away. Right away. I have not experienced that with the show. This is a love story that you can't even wrap your head around how beautiful it is. And it's so hard to think about, what it's like to be a gay person, a gay man in the sports world. It shows you a side of life that is it's so sad. It's so hard because these people are just who they are. And they just I'm emotional thinking about it. It's so unfortunate that we're still in a society that judges men for being gay, or women for being gay. And especially in the sports world, that's something we don't think about, we don't see. But of course there's gay athletes because the statistics of it, right? I'm telling you, it is the most beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. So I will say, I don't want to tell you what happened because God forbid I ruin that for you. But tell me in the comments here if you guys have seen it. It's on HBO Max. But warning, do not watch it with family around. Do not watch it with kids around. I don't even think I can watch it with anyone around. I watched it on my phone and in small screens, like this half of the time. And sometimes I had to fast forward a little bit. Not gonna lie. Through a little bit of the sex scenes. It made me uncomfortable sometimes. It's graphic. It's there. Okay? But you got to get past that to see the beauty of the heart of the story. Phenomenal. Freaking phenomenal. I love you guys. Enrique, it's very educational about hockey. I'm kidding. You won't learn anything about hockey. I did learn a little bit about hockey, that it's hard. That's what she said. It was a beautiful, beautiful show. Apparently, there's going to be a second season. I can't wait. No, Leslie, I haven't. Donna, have you watched the podcast with 3 straight guys watching the show? It's called Empty Netters or Empty Nesters? Empty Netters? Oh my God, I need to watch it. I need to watch it. Look, I told Lance afterwards, I said, you need to see this. He's like, I don't know if I can. I was like, you need to. He's like, oh my God, we need to find this. Yeah. I truly don't know how people don't. You have to try to get through it. You have to. Because it's so good. Let's see if I have a clip here of them talking about it. Oh, this is like literally a sports podcast. And they're talking about, okay, let's look at this together. Empty Netters is a hockey talk podcast. Oh my God, this is amazing that they did this. This makes me happy. So Empty Netters is a hockey talk podcast hosted by Dan Powers and Chris Powers. And they talked about, oh my God, Scott Hunter. They talked about, I want to find where they're talking about it here. Let's watch a couple clips here.
Up here. I'm not even giving tuna melt enough love yet, and you already got to the pickles? Fuck you. God. Premature ejaculator.
Okay, that is not, we can't go there. Hold on. Let's find a better one. Here, Ilya is a romance king.
A couple things before you get into the horniness of the scene.
Yeah.
Loved chirping the throw pillows on the bed by Ilya.
Loved it.
That's such a real thing. I hate throw pillows. Sandra has a million fucking pillows on the bed.
Yep.
I don't need that shit. And that was amazing. 2, I think it did jump far enough that Shane would be off his rookie deal.
Yes.
He was either in the last year of his rookie deal or in year 1 of a new deal, which would be a fat ticket because he's the captain and MVP.
But he's got big deal. Man, he's got the
Reebok, Rolex. But yeah, I was loving real estate mogul Shane.
Yeah.
He's like, I got this huge place here. I'm gonna blow out the wall.
Think about it, though. He's a smart kid, dude. He's not. You think he's spending money on cars and shit?
No. They're talking about it like from a hockey a hockey place. This is so funny.
No. He's investing in real estate.
That was awesome.
Shane is smart. I also, guys, I want to point out here, Ilya is a consent king.
Yes, you love that, dude.
Oh my God.
That's popped too, bro. Alex is always like, every time he's like, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay?
Just check-ins left and right. Ilya being like, do you like that? Is this good?
That's in everything. Like, these are our 2 experiences, Pucked and this. That's true. And it's everything. So I wonder if like all the smut is very, well, I bet it makes sense. Consent, dude. Hey. Couple.
Oh, that's cute. Yes, Ilya. So Ilya is obviously the Russian one. I say obviously, but it was seriously such a beautiful show. I need to follow these guys. Maybe I'll get them on my show. Can you imagine? Can I get the Empty Netters on my show talking about hockey? Oh, you guys, it was so beautiful. Well, that's it, you guys. I think that's it for the week. Please go watch Heated Rivalry and let me know what you think. Please. And what do you think? Oh, this is so funny. Leslie says they talk about how cool it would be to be at a hockey camp training all day and then having sex all night. It's fun. Oh, it's so beautiful. I'm going to go back and watch it again. It's 6 episodes. You can do it in one day. I literally took my phone with me everywhere I went around the house to clean, to declutter. It was beautiful. It was lovely. Happy New Year, everyone. Have a phenomenal Friday. It's already the weekend. What? Shabbat Shalom. I love you. And I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Bye.